from Hamburg, we have to go on, huh? But Hamburg was not yet finished. There was still the question of other meetings. They were so hard pressed for time that they had to invite a few different groups speaking different languages, which just did not solve the purpose. So did not solve the problem, because they had invited Arabs, the French-speaking, or the Arab-speaking people, the French-speaking people, and Turkish-speaking people. Right? How do you know? You saw the TV. That's right. Yes. And also, I think they made arrangement for Persian, but not arrangement for the questions in Persian, but only for the translation into Persian. But the people who arrived there belonged to more than just these classes. For instance, there was a strong group of English-speaking Africans who insisted that they should be given a right. And also, I think one more language, Urdu, was also introduced there, because there was one Afghani who knew Urdu better than English or German. So he wanted to speak in Urdu. So there were a few problems created. So it took us a longer time to deal with the questions because of a few, incidental problems. But otherwise the meeting was good. And like always, I noticed a Turkish scholar who always comes, and he always waits for his time to try to remove all the good impressions received by the Turks by repeating the same questions which had been answered. So this is what he did this time again, but this time I dubbed him. I said, you claim to be a Muslim, you inquired from me permission, you asked permission from me for one question. So why are you jumbling all these questions together? Be a Muslim and stick to only one question. That unnerved him to a degree, of course. Then the question he asked, I answered it very clearly. So what pleased me was that although it was some well-known Turkish scholar or alim, I think he was the imam of some mosque, who was being slightly harshly treated by me, but all the Turks applauded. They were smiling, they were laughing, they enjoyed this, which means they were fed up of this man, and he had no influence over the Turks anymore. So that shows that the ethnic groups are being drawn towards Ahmadiyyat more and more. And again, it was not here, I think it was elsewhere, that a planted Khoja was sent to our meeting. It was in your country. This is Kassel. In Kassel region, the same man appeared who had come before and before. And he asked typical questions to doubt the seed, to sow the seed of doubt in the minds of people regarding the integrity of Jamaat Ahmadiyyah and the role it has to play in Islam. So I knew he had asked the same questions and had been answered, and he ultimately got satisfied. So it was only there again when I had to be a little harsh to him. And I'm glad that all the Muslims agreed with me, none with him. And at the end of my treatment of this gentleman, they all applauded in favor of what I had said. So this is how it went on and on with different ethnic groups. But let's return to this experiment with experience with the people from Hamburg. To my knowledge, they all said their prayer with us. They all stayed. All of them express their agreement and happiness at whatever they found here to be. Most of them, in fact, had only one complaint to make, but the time was not enough. They wanted to sit on and on, that is the complaint which they made. So the tour was given a big send-off from Hamburg onto Kassel. In Kassel, I must say, the Jamaat has done beautifully well. First of all, the building, have you seen that? Have you? The new building in Samhausen. Innenhausen. Right. It's a beautiful place, huge complex with large open spaces and excellent three-storied arrangements for offices as well as for the house of the Murabbi and for the guests as well. So plenty of area for us with the grace of Allah. But the mosque got filled to the brim in the very first session we had there. So they need some more, in fact, later on. But that was a good place, and the Jamaat had worked so hard in improving the quality of that place that the owners were amazed. Previously, the same owner had required 17 million for this place. 1700,000 for this place, or was it more? 21 or 17? Let's call it 17 to be on the safe side. I said no. Tell him to give it to anybody he likes. So he couldn't sell it for that price, but he committed the mistake for himself, and that mistake was in fact a welcome mistake on our part, because he gave it to the government for keeping some different ethnic immigrant groups, and among them was such rowdy people, so boisterous in their character, smugglers of drugs and indulging in everything wrong, that the whole area was fed up. And the owner had the house next door to this building. So he was so shocked at his experience with them that when the contract was ended, he immediately, after the same building, to the Jamaat, saying that I can only charge you 700,000 for that, instead of 1700,000. On his first demand, he would not budge. He said, not a penny less. But he himself said 7. I said, accept it immediately. No further bargaining. So the whole building is a beautiful big place with so much material, but I must express my gratitude to the Jamaat, old and young all alike, that they had worked so hard on improving the quality of this building in the area, that not only the owner of this place, but also all the neighbors from around came to congratulate us. While previously their impression of the foreigners had been embittered by what they saw of these people settling there. But when they saw us, they watched us from distance, doing things. And when we gathered here and everything was so peaceful, around 1,000 people got together and no noise, everything was orderly and fine. So they all rushed to our center, expressing their gratitude and happiness. Said, long live Jamaat Ahmadiyyah here, and we are happy. See? So this is, I think, which goes to the credit of the Jamaat there, which with the grace of Allah is improving her quality continuously, so that the impression they create is not only on all the common people, but also on all the big people around. So they have all now fully supported the cause of Ahmadiyya Jamaat in everything. They ask us what we can do for you. Tell us, have it done. That sort of thing. So in Castle we had very good time. First of all, the mulaqat, of course, then various sessions and question and answer sessions. Then from there we had to go to one particular place where the mayor could not, because of his previous arrangements, could not make it for the meeting. So he, along with his, he had first decided to have his elders from the city with him. But then he said, not the elders, but I'll have only some important people of the area who do not know much about Islam but who are very influential and big people. So he invited them to meet me, and he began his questions himself first by inquiring from me about this and that. And then these specialists on different subjects, one of them was a specialist on agriculture, and one other I think was a specialist on environmental things, pollution, etc. and so on. So they started asking questions, and with the grace of Allah, you can see it on television, they were all nodding their assent, and gradually, getting down from their avatars to my level, my ordinary level of mutual discussions and things. Previously you could notice that German, haughtiness, which is always a result of unfamiliarity. The English are also haughty many times, and the Germans are also haughty many times. There is one basic difference between the two. The English are haughty because of inherent snobbishness in them. They rule the world, so that the sun never set upon them. So, as such, deep within they are haughty because of that snobbishness. And that snobbishness would not go, but the facial expressions change. After listening to you, they can be kind, but they are condescendingly kind. They get down to the low status by themselves, out of courtesy, out of conviction, yet out of courtesy. So this is what I have read of English character. But it takes you much longer to ultimately turn them into your real committed friends. Once they are, then the snobbishness goes, the haughtiness goes, then they always stay with you and support you. But the German character is different. There is no snobbishness. There is haughtiness, of course. German pride and haughtiness resulting from lack of knowledge. Always resulting from lack of knowledge of other people. They are shy of foreigners, and they want to remain within their closed society of the Germans, insulated society I should say. But once they begin to know you, they change immediately, and really they grade themselves down within your sight, and they mean it. There is no more fight left. So this is what happened to the mayor as well as to these specialists who parted company as friends of the same level, no more specialist of this and specialist of that. So that is how the castle tour went into gear. I don't know whether I have made it clear or not. There are 3 different mayors of the entire area involved in their contact with the Jamaat. The first one I mentioned was just now, who came along with some specialists, and he wanted me to spend some time with them because he could not attend the common function of question answers. So that is why we disposed of him and his fellow members of the team separately, and it took us quite some time, more than it was expected. And we had formalities, photographs, exchange of words and this and that. From there I went to another room. The building remained the same. People kept changing and the rooms kept changing, one from the other. Sorry. So there came the next mayor, who also gave me to understand that he had come officially, but not as he had desired. He wanted to come with all the teams of councillors and officially welcome me there and garland me and do all the formalities which they do. But this was refused to him by the Amir Sahib of Germany, because previously I had myself told him that it embarrasses me for them to, to go on, do these formalities. It takes a lot of time, and moreover I feel embarrassed of being unnecessarily and unduly elevated into something, who's coming. So I wanted to meet them at their own level, a common human level. So that is what he said. Okay, he had come here because of a different understanding now. The understanding was that I will be here to ask you different things, and we meet here and then I take leave of you. Now, having stayed there for around half an hour instead of a few minutes, he decided to come into the general meeting as well. And he said he will not be able to make it more than 40 minutes at the maximum, or perhaps less. And it was the same mayor who stayed on for about an hour and a half. And he kept cancelling the other appointments, one after the other. So from him I understood that the German people, not only in this area but generally overall, all over Germany, are very little informed about Islam. And as such, they feel, the distance, and they remain locked up in their own cars and say no. So he mentioned it in so many words. He said, look here, after knowing you, that is to say, not me, the Ahmediyya Jamaat, after knowing some mad workers who keep coming to me and telling me this and this, they say their humility, their service, their cause, their service sacrifices for the cause are so impressive that it was this thing which compelled him to come to meet me. Prior to this, he didn't know much about Islam at all. Only there was a wall created between him and the Muslims, because whatever he had understood of Islam was through reports. That is why everywhere I went there, Khomeini always followed me. See, he had to be there, because all Germans, would inquire from me, what do I think of Khomeini? There in particular, I think it was in Castle or the same place perhaps, yes. There was a German, no, it was in Hamburg, who, let me see, I don't know, no. Later on it was in Frankfurt, but I leave that alone. The Germans, it was not he, but every time some German would stand up and inquire about Khomeini and our relationship with them, the Iranis and those who follow Khomeini, I mean. And when I explained these things to them, they were amazed. And they had only one idea about Islam and Salman Rushdie. They thought, or they had thought prior to my visit, that Islam condemned Salman Rushdie to death to a degree that every Tom, Dick and Harry can take up a dagger in his hand and stab him or shoot him, and it would be okay by God. That was the impression which I found prevailing all over, and still prevails. And unfortunately the other Muslims take pride in that. Instead of removing this blemish for the face of Islam, they somehow take pride in it. They do not make any effort to remove this wrong impression. So every time I had to tackle with this question. Every time I had to tell them. And I had to tell them that it is not my personal view at all. It is the official Quranic view. It is the official view as it emerges from the study of the Sunnah of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, from the study of his acts and deeds. So, in the end, they always turn into friendly Germans. No more inimical, you know. Somehow they hate the idea of other people interfering with the law and order of their own country. This is what exasperates them, you know, something which they simply cannot tolerate. As long as it is there, this impression, they will not listen to anything else of Islam. So when I removed this, all the barriers were demolished. I said, yes, this is sensible. Tell us more, you know. So that in a way helped me. I was not so much, but still, deep within I was happy with this question, because that gave me an opportunity to explain myself and explain Islam. So this is how every meeting went on until we reached the final session of Bosnians and Albanians. They were together. But it was understood that while I would be answering the Bosnians, Albanians would remain there because they understood Bosnian language as well. When I started speaking Albanian, then the Bosnians could leave, you know, for instance, to have the refreshments and things. And moreover, I noticed that there were so many Bosnians who were so addicted to smoking. It was very hard for them indeed to abstain from smoking for more than an hour or so. So they were dying to get out, you know, somehow. And that is why we shortened their trial to only an hour. For 1 hour they could ask any questions and then leave and retire to their own private rooms and things. So that is what happened, but they were also quite responsive, and although the same questions which the Khojas had taught them appeared again and again, and particularly this one person I am referring to was a plant of the Khojas who kept on staying with them even when the meeting was changed into an Albanian meeting. This man, I immediately recognized, had tried to disrupt our meeting, not directly by making noises, but by deviating from the right course and moving into other alleys, you know, which did not have any relationship with the subject of discussion. So he wanted to take me around here and there, so that I could lose the thread of the discussion, and the Albanians or Bosnians would not be impressed. So this time I kept watching his face, you know, and I saw a color come and go, you know. He somehow, you know, wave after wave, he said, oh, what can I do about it? He is winning the ground. That is what his impression was. Then he stood up, and with every apology and courtesy, he said, I suggest something. The thing which he had suggested even earlier. He said, why make this deception? You know, we people are innocent, simple people, we don't know much of Islam. Why to come to us and drag us into the intricacies of your discussions? These are scholarly discussions. Why don't we just go to the Khojas in Bosnia and have the matter settled with them? And once it is settled with them, then we all follow you. You see, very clever and cunning way of saying things. I don't want to repeat all the answer I gave, because it's all recorded and I think it's being played back now. But by the end, you know, I had to be a bit stiff with him. I said, look here, you are doing it every time, and this is my answer. I invite all your Khojas, send the message to them. Come to MTA and we'll settle the issue once and for all. I'll give them any time, as much time as they like, to object against Ahmadiyya, to answer my queries and so on, and then I'll do it and we'll sit there until the issue is decided. I said, this is the invitation I have been extending to them throughout my contact with people like you. Never once has anybody returned with a positive answer. And they always disappear. So what sort of hojas do you have? Why do they run away from light? They had to be darkness. If they were light, then like I am appearing before you, I don't care a fig for what you hold and what your beliefs are. I know I'll be conqueror. I'll win, I mean. And why are you Khoja running away? Why do they send their agents to these meetings? Why don't they come themselves? So this and that, so many things, in fact, I said in response, with the result that he had to change his attitude. I was amazed. From then on, it was a very much subdued agent, instead of the same, overconfident, coquettish agent. He practically nodded and didn't speak after that. But other Bosnians, other Albanians who were there, they started discussing their own problems and Ahmadiyya, the relation to the problems. And I was amazed to notice that although we had done very little for the cause of Albanians, they were so happy with the Ahmadiyya. It's amazing. On Bosnians, we had spent so much of Jamaat's financial sacrifices, which run into millions. But we don't, make a show of it, of course, because it's done for the sake of God. But the comparison which I'm making between the Bosnians and the Albanians is this, which is very sharp comparison. They happily accept the aid and other efforts of the Jamaat to highlight the problem for the sake and bring it to the notice of the rest of the world, like America, Japan, etc., etc. All over the world, and I told them so. All over the world, it were Ahmadis and Ahmadis alone who took up the cudgel for Bosnian cause. Where were the Saudis? Where were the Kuwaitis? Where were the Pakistanis? Why did they not do it? It were Ahmadis and Ahmadis alone who fought for their cause and still are fighting, and yet also spending so much. And we don't want even thank you in return. We want the cause of the poor be served, that is all. But the response which we receive from the Albanians, for whom we have done nothing, practically nothing, except for an odd case here and there which comes for very special treatment, the Albanians have not received any benefits from Jamaat's world organization to improve their lot in Albania or in Kosovo. But look at them. They were in love with Ahmadiyya. They loved the idea of Ahmadiyya rising in the world and winning back all the lost territories to Christianity and other people. And you could see in them, every time I answered a Bosnian or anybody successfully, they were the loudest in their applause. They said, yes, well done. And the very little I did there was to make a promise that we'll go into your question and see what can be done. And even at that, they were so happy. And they said to me, look here, we are all Ahmadis. We love Ahmadiyya. And this is what you will find us to be. And later on, I was amazed to discover that most of the people from among the Albanians were paying their chandas. Imagine. They're paying their chandas, which they could not have done without total dedication. And among them there was another group which can be generally, entitled Yugoslavians as such. but who belong to the Romani people. They belong to, historically they belong to the Punjabis. And they speak Punjabi even today. Not in its, not in the texture of the language, but in the vocabulary of the language. There's so many Punjabi words. I was amazed to see that. And that is why now they feel more familiar with Ahmadiyyat, because Hazrat Masih Maud Islam also came from the Punjab, That sort of association is pulling them strongly to Ahmadiyyat. And of them I have found that they are the strongest in character once they change sides. People paint a different image of theirs normally, but I saw a completely different story. But I'm consulting the watch. Already I have taken too much time, and now you can start translating. I think we'll have to turn to Germany, at least partially, once again, right? And Asha is very happy with that, right? That's right. Yes. These, as I said, generally I can give them the title of Romani Yugoslavs, because the word Romani describes them, differentiates them. I was amazed to find that they knew Punjabi, so I started my own experimentation. I said, there's a naak, aankh, kaan, muh, hont. Everything was exactly what we say. And then I inquired from them about a young boy. So he didn't know what I was saying. So I tried first my own Punjabi, Nyana, which some of them use for the boy whom they carry in their lap. Very small boy, infant, is called Nyana. But this man didn't understand. So I tried my other Punjabi word, chor. So I said, chor. Oh, yes, chor. He's chor. And I said, he's chori? Yes, chori, chora, chori. So they know Punjabi much better than many Urdu-speaking Punjabis. You see? And they have a sense of belonging to Ahmadiyyat, because of this. So they're very devout, very dedicated, very brave. They say their prayers 5 times a day. They learn the meaning of the prayer. They learn the Quran and other basics of Islam. And they pay their chanda very regularly. And when you speak to them, you have that sense as if they were born Ahmadis, They start crying, give expression to their dedication and so on. And sometimes, shouting and saying, this is it, So all of them are now decided by the government of Germany to return to their homes gradually. So they were worried. Of course they had to be worried. They wanted us to do something for them, which we promised we shall. But as far as Ahmadiyyat goes, they said, we are going to carry it. We are going to spread it along, inshallah. So it was very good to see them with my own eyes and feel their feelings, being transmitted across without even words. Okay?